Good day. My name's James Huddleston, and I'm going to show you a little bit about my generic role-playing game aid for the Foundry Virtual Tabletop. First, a little bit about Foundry. It's a virtual tabletop just like Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds, although I think it's better than either of those, and I've used them both. But like those, it allows you to operate different game systems or rule sets. It allows you to augment either itself or a specific game system, and it allows you to create game worlds or campaign settings running those game systems or rule sets. So here's my demo, and I'm just using this for Palladium at the moment. And here we have a chat log, combat encounters, scenes, actors, almost synonymous with characters, but not quite. The thing about GRPGA is it doesn't have a lot of stuff built in. What it does have is a set of tools that allow you, these tools here, that allow you to build just about anything that any modern role-playing game can throw at you. And these handle all of those various functions. Each rule set really only requires the additional game mechanics for what dice are being rolled and whether they're high or low and various things like that, as well as some look and feel considerations. Journals, for example, are ways of sharing information in various formatted ways. We have rollable tables for randomly choosing possible results, like encounter tables and things like that. We have audio for ambience and various other sound effects if you like. And then you have the compendia. These, which we're going to be using in a little bit, store all of the information for either the game system or the world or modules, and this would be from a module. And then we have the various settings, and I just want to quickly show you GRPGA in particular. The reason it's somewhat unique is that it isn't for one particular game system or rule set. It covers a number of them. And because Palladium is the most recent and most advanced of those, I've used it, and it's fairly straightforward and similar to a lot of other types of games apart from which dice mechanics they use. I've been able to use it to support other dice rolling mechanics without having to program a bunch of extra stuff. Right, GRPGA and Palladium. So a friend of mine runs Palladium first edition, heavily house ruled, and he created these along with almost the entirety of the Palladium first edition book for his own use. And these are the results. His dynamic characters or actors with all of the normal information that anyone would need in order to make roles with context in a normal game setting. And we have this, you have an audit trail of what modifiers were applied to the roll, what the result was, and this is a house ruled success. Person's wounded, we unwound him and roll it again, and we have a different result. Same thing with attacks and damage, and skill rolls, etc. All of them are ready to easily be deployed with context. And that's really what GRPGA is all about. Now, Rifts specific, I'm going to show you something that you're probably familiar with, and that is the Rifts character generation spreadsheet with one of the GM kit's standard characters on it. And I haven't done any editing, well, a small bit of editing to that, but mostly what I did was I created this, which is a parser for it. And what it does is it looks at, okay, if I type it correctly, has to be the name of the sheet, and then it fetches all of the information from this and formats it in a way that GRPGA can understand it. So first thing I need to do is refresh all the data. And then copy that information. Come over to the compendium, the actors, Dropbox, import a Palladium template, which has all of the basic stuff. Paste it in here, and then import. And we're done. So it's imported this CS military specialist. He now has his own attributes. He has a bunch of primary attribute modifiers, which includes the actions per round, which we'll need to pay attention to in a minute. And you see when I turn on hand-to-hand expert, his actions per round of 5 shows up. Various other data, all his ammunition, etc. All of the various different types of attacks that he can make, and their modifiers. Same thing with the skill rolls, and a bunch of information to share. For example, want to know what his strengths details are like, then you can share that information with people with a click of a button. Alright, so let's take Mr. John Inglesby and level him up. We'll make him 9th level so that some of these numbers actually change, and assume that we did all of the rest with the skills updating and so on. So what we do is we go back to our rifts, character parser, we refresh again so it fetches the new data. We copy it again. We go find our actor and we paste it. And wherever it finds the same thing, it will simply update the information. So now, when we look at main, hand-to-hand, we see he now has 6 actions per round, as he should. Alrighty. And while we're here, we'll just roll his initiative. And then we'll drag him onto the sheet. So, finally, I want to show you the combat tracker, which is a feature that others don't have, other tabletop systems don't have, that is specific to Palladium. So these are all the people that I've selected. We're going to begin combat, and what it does is it pulls in their actions per round and their initiative values, sorts by the initiative values, and now we're ready to go. And a module is highlighting this guy here. And in fact, another module has got the direction indicators. So as you advance, they consume actions. Let's say that this guy here, who is where, is here, is going to move and attack this fellow here, who then needs to defend and needs to consume an action. So he does his attack, this fellow consumes an action by hitting the interrupt. Because it's not his turn, he has to use the interrupt, and then this guy finishes his turn. And you proceed with everybody consuming their actions as you go along, and if somebody doesn't have actions, you can see that they are skipped. And eventually we're going to end up down here with somebody from a different game system with many more actions. At which point the game master gets everyone to re-roll their initiative and choose a different method of determining their number of actions, all on their own character sheets, at which point he hits next round and it pulls the data in and off you go again on the next round. That's really all I have to tell you, except that GRPGA contains no Palladium intellectual property that wasn't created by users. So the GRPGA itself doesn't contain any of that. It doesn't necessarily understand very many Palladium functions. That's built in by people who are using it. The use of compendia, like this module here, is an adventure for a different game system. And this is the way that you can import your intellectual property for sale or for free as you determine, and you can add it to GRPGA so that to make it available for people to play with. Thanks very much for your attention. Cheers.